They say you never forget your first love. And maybe that's true. Not because it was the most important relationship of your life, not because it was the most perfect, but because it had a kind of intensity that later relationships rarely match. Even years afterwards, you might find yourself unexpectedly reminded of it. A name, a song, a face in a crowd that looks a little too familiar. And suddenly, you're transported back to that moment when everything felt new and a little overwhelming. First love often arrives suddenly, before you're really ready. And that's why it stays with you. The intensity of it, the awkwardness, the uncertainty, all of that leaves a mark. Hello and welcome back to English and Beyond, the advanced English podcast where we explore culture, ideas and personal stories through natural conversation. I'm Oliver, an English, Spanish and Latin teacher from the UK, and as always, you can find the free transcript of this episode plus vocabulary flashcards at morethanAlanguage.com. So, returning to the topic, of course, first love doesn't always look the same. For some, it's a fleeting holiday romance that feels almost cinematic because it's so brief. For others, it's a nervous kiss at a school disco, more awkward than romantic, but unforgettable all the same. And for many, especially for those who didn't follow the usual teenage path, first love arrives later, delayed, but no less powerful. However it comes, it has a way of shaping us, of teaching us something about desire, about disappointment, and about ourselves. Sometimes it's not even about the person at all, but about who we were at that moment. Insecure, almost certainly, maybe idealistic too, still figuring out what love might mean. What's striking is how these early experiences never quite leave us, even if the relationship lasted only a week, or even if it never really began, the memory remains vivid. Years later, you might bump into someone who reminds you of that first love, and your pulse still quickens, even though the feelings themselves have long gone. In a sense, first love belongs as much to the imagination as to reality. We remember it through a haze of exaggeration, nostalgia, and selective memory, but that doesn't make it feel any less true. In this episode, we're going to revisit some of those memories, the crushes that felt larger than life, the kisses that confirmed or confused everything, and the romances that burned brightly before reality caught up. They're funny, they're awkward, they're sometimes bittersweet, but they all remind us why first love, whatever form it takes, is so hard to forget. And perhaps, more importantly, they remind us of who we were when it happened, the younger versions of ourselves, and that might be the real reason first love never leaves us. It's not only about the person we cared for, but about the version of ourselves that existed back then. Younger, unguarded, perhaps naive, but open in a way we rarely are again. There's a sweetness to it, even when it ended in disappointment, because it was the first time we allowed ourselves to be vulnerable, to feel those butterflies. In fact, maybe it's the wrong phrase, we allowed ourselves to be vulnerable. Often when we are young, we yearn for a first love. We search for it, for someone who will love us as much as we dream of loving them. Looking back, we can smile at how innocent it all was, but also at how, in that moment, it genuinely felt like the most important thing in the world. Well, César, are you ready for our most personal album yet?
Well, I'm not sure I can say much, to be honest, about this topic.
The point is that virtually everyone has a memory, has a story, and I think everyone loves to hear the stories of other people's first loves. So, who's going first?
You go first.
Okay, well,
yeah.
So, well, now I don't know what to say.
Are you gonna say names?
No. Hannah actually is. So Hannah actually is the name of not my first. Well, it depends how far back we're going. So I remember being on holiday in Turkey and meeting on one of these kind of like a sun sail holiday, which is kind of you go on holiday and you sail in the sun. And I met a girl called Emily from Northern Ireland, and I was absolutely in love with her.
How old were you?
Probably about 12. Okay. 12 or 13, but I just thought she was like incredible. She was my age, but the girls obviously are much bigger, right? So she was way taller than me and she was very, very imposing, and I just thought she was amazing. So I really loved Emily. Had a huge crush on her.
So in hindsight, you think you looked up to her?
Well,
Like,
is that a joke? Like a pun about literally
no,
looking
no,
up?
no. Well, both actually. It wasn't a pun. It wasn't intended. But what I mean is, like, obviously, you are gay, right? Why are you coming out as a bisexual man or something?
No. I was
Okay.
I was going to say she was the last of my straight crushes, because I think that when you're young, you do.
It's like performative, no?
It's not even performative. I think that you can really like someone as a person, and you get that
I agree.
confused. So I thought she was great, because, for example, when I was a young teenager, I kissed a girl for the first time properly, and immediately afterwards I was like, well, that's not for me. And I remember saying to the boys, it was at a school disco, and and everyone always was kind of obsessed about kissing someone or pulling. And I kissed this girl, and I think I've said before actually in the podcast, can't remember, but I went to an all boys school. My sister went to an all girls school, and they combined the schools for discos. My sister is like 3 years older than me, so all of the girls at the school disco knew who I was because of my big sister, who's very loud, very pretty,
And who looks just like you.
well, I've just complimented myself now.
But you're very similar. Like, she's like the female version of you, or you are the male version.
I don't
of
know,
her.
but well, she was basically, all of the girls at the girls' school either loved or were in fear of her. So they came up to me and were like, "Are you his brother?" I'm going to beep that out. And I was her brother. So I had loads of dances and kissed one of these girls. And immediately I was like, no, this is not right. And I suppose I didn't really know exactly what wasn't right. I think I can't remember now, it's such a long time ago. I probably had an inkling, but I knew as soon as I kissed her that I was not interested.
I didn't get what you said. Inkling. What is that?
It's like to have an idea,
okay.
a small idea.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had an idea. I had the first kind of signs that I might be gay.
Okay. So Emily was your first crush, but who was your?
I think, but Emily might have come after Hannah. I kissed Hannah, but then I never kissed Emily, but I was just obsessed with her.
Who was your?
So she was my last crush.
Your real first love, like where you felt these butterflies in your stomach, and that's
Well,
people.
Before we get onto that, maybe we should talk about your kind of like last female crush, or your first love with a girl.
I guess my long-term crush when I was a kid, or like a pre-teenager, can you say? Preteen, was Maria Luisa.
Yeah. Did you go to school with her?
Yeah.
Because that's the difference. I always went to a boys' school.
And we kissed one. It was just like a peck. We were playing this game with a card where you have to.
Oh, yeah. Oh God, it's like blow and kiss or something like that. It's actually in Clueless. I don't know if you've seen Clueless.
Yeah.
But they play it when they're like 17, so it's a little bit more.
So we
risque.
Yeah, we had a peck.
Yeah.
I was very excited about that.
Yeah.
And
how old were you when that happened? Do you say preteen, like 12, 13?
12, 13. Yeah.
Okay. And so that was the last time you kind of were interested in a girl.
I guess so. Yeah.
But you didn't come out until way later, right?
Yeah, well, I came out when I had a boyfriend already, so
like 25 or something like that.
23.
23.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once my dad came to London to visit me, and I was living with my boyfriend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that week when my dad was visiting me, my boyfriend was on a business trip, so they didn't want him to pay for a hotel. Mm-hmm. So I told him, "You can come home and we can sleep in my room." And I hid all the pictures with my boyfriend at the time and his clothes.
Your roommate.
My roommate. Yeah.
Like, and he was like, "Why do you and your roommate share a bed?" You're like, London economy, expensive rent.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So what was your first real love?
My first love. I think that it definitely, for me, it was definitely actually kind of a first love, because I used to get the bus to school. I used to get a coach. And so, you'd go to the bus stop in the morning and get picked up from there. And so I saw him on the first day that I started at my secondary school. Like, I started at 13 and he was totally different from me. I was extremely skinny and geeky. I was such a geek. All I needed was the glasses. I had the wild hair. I had the incredibly skinny geeky body with a very bad posture, which I still have sometimes. And so he was the complete opposite. He was like the rugby captain. He was really muscular, at an age when no one else was muscular. And he was blonde. He was just incredibly handsome. Like, all of the mums used to say how handsome he was. And I was this little runt, in comparison. And so I saw him every day, on the bus, and thought he was just like the most beautiful person I'd ever seen, for like a year. And then I had a friend, one of my friends, one of my very geeky friends, was also for some reason friends with him because they'd gone to the same junior school. And so we all got on this bus together, and it meant that we used to have sleepovers in this geeky group. And for some reason we invited him. And for some reason that I don't understand, he came.
Did you invite him?
Well, he came, the first time he came to one of the sleepovers was at my house. And I invited him through my friend Chris. And so he came for that reason. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as we had the sleepovers, there was like a very weird energy, because outside of school, he just would keep touching me, unnecessarily. So there'd be like an arm round kind of the shoulders or a hand on the knee, just totally unnecessarily while we were playing video games. And I was like, oh my God. And then over the course of these sleepovers, like we always ended up sleeping in a bed together and everyone else would sleep on the floor in sleeping bags. And eventually, like in the middle of the night at like 5 a.m., we kissed. And then we ended up having this kind of like mini secretive relationship for like 3 or 4 months. And I went on holiday. I went on a school trip. And when I was away, he got a girlfriend. And I came back from that school trip, found out that he'd got this girlfriend, and I was devastated by this. Like, it took me like 4 years to get over. I was so upset because I was so geeky and not in the closet, but unable to tell anyone.
Yeah, well, but you were in the closet, right?
Well, I wasn't in the closet with myself, but I hadn't told anyone else.
Yeah, so you couldn't share the fact that your boyfriend
had dumped me,
had dumped you for a girl,
and I couldn't even tell my mum or my sister, who I would normally talk to about these things.
Did people notice that you were off?
Yeah, because then we started being quite mean to each other at school, and obviously he stopped coming to the sleepovers. So he would call me gay, and I would call him stupid. Which is not very nice of me either. I feel bad about that, and he wasn't stupid. I was gay.
Yeah.
So, what can I say?
That's right. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I obviously knew this story, but the way you just told me, it was very interesting, very nice.
I thought you were going to say you're going to cry because
No, it's I thought you were going to get emotional. No, it's a very sweet story.
But it's funny. It's funny how I think, as I talked about in the epilogue. As I talked about in the prologue, first loves I think never completely leave you, because like 10 years ago, so 10 years after this all happened, I was in my hometown, and I went to the train station to buy a ticket, and there was this guy standing, already buying a ticket at the machine, and it looked so much like him, and it turned out not to be him, but my heart was racing. And I was like, oh my God, because I hadn't seen him since we left school.
Yeah.
And I felt so nervous. And it was interesting that, literally like 10 years after this had happened, it was still making my heart pound. I was still so not into him, but like, it made me so nervous, the idea of seeing him, and I haven't seen him in literally 18 years.
Mm-hmm. Did you look up his profile on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn?
I've looked up his profile once on Instagram, but it's closed anyway. And he has a restraining order now, so no. I know nothing about him except that I know he lives in
okay.
Oh, I probably should say that. I know he lives in another country, and I think he's married to a woman.
He might be watching this or listening to this
to improve his English
right now,
because he was stupid. No, I don't think so. I hope not.
Well, it might be quite funny if he's watching.
I mean, he should be grateful because, you know, he asked me not to tell anyone and I didn't tell anyone at school ever.
You were very discreet.
I was very discreet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And when he was, and it took a great deal of restraint when he was calling me gay, not to be like, really? So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awful.
Well, no, it's fine. It's character building.
Wait, well, no, it's bullying because they won't
Because,
calling
yeah.
you gay in a good way. By the way, I'm telling you now, you know you're going to lose some listeners from this episode.
Oh, yeah, well, it's fine.
It's a good filter because with the Spanish podcast, it happens as well.
As soon as you mention anything about sexuality, then lots of people stop following you.
Homosexuality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned something, you said that you think first love doesn't really leave you ever. I don't really agree. Like, I didn't like anyone. Like, I felt physically attracted to many people, but I wasn't really into anyone until I was 21 or so. 20,
Well, then
21?
that was your first love.
Yeah.
And they
But
talk,
like, I've never felt like that teenage love that many people feel so intense.
well, they talk
intensely.
about sometimes LGBT people because they don't tend to have the teenage romances that that straight people have, and therefore they live a kind of a delayed adolescence in that respect. And so I think it's quite common. I think my story is quite unusual.
Yeah.
To have something when I was a teenager.
Absolutely.
Whereas I think your story of being a bit older, I think it's actually more common.
It's more normal. Yeah, I was actually doing an English course in Barcelona.
Oh yeah.
I met someone, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
His English was amazing, and it's even better now because he lives in the States. He's married to an American guy, and yeah, I think it was my first crush ever. Very, very intense. And I remember we kissed, and it was super weird for me because I had never kissed someone with a beard. And so we were together for 1 week, and when I left Barcelona and I was off to Valencia, and he was from Granada, we said goodbye at the train station in Barcelona. And I remember myself crying in the train.
Yeah.
On the way back.
Well, holiday
It was,
romances can be actually really, really moving and upsetting. Yeah.
No, but I've got a really good memory of that week and the following weeks where I felt like infatuated. What is the verb?
Infatuated.
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 Like you're not in love, but you feel like you like someone very much.
There's a good word for this actually, which is very uncommonly used even amongst native speakers, which is it's like, you know what lust means? It's like lust, but kind of from an emotional perspective. It's called limerence.
Okay.
And it's a great word to use for this kind of context, actually.
Okay.
So that very strong feeling, which is not really love because you don't have the depth of feeling, you don't know that person very well. But I think sometimes actually holiday romances and brief kind of liaisons, brief flings like that can actually feel sometimes more powerful because you don't have the reality. Reality doesn't set in quickly enough.
You are in a different context as well. You're normally more relaxed.
Yeah,
You're
it feels
always
cinematic,
well rested, and
and it doesn't have to end badly. I mean, even when a relationship ends, even if it ends amicably, even if a relationship ends amicably, it ends, and so you have that kind of like that bittersweetness, or you just have that bitterness. Whereas I think with holiday romances, it's inherently more bittersweet. Okay, well, César, and listeners, if you have managed to make it to the end and haven't blocked and unfollowed and given me 1 star on whatever listening program platform you use, then thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time for a much less personal episode.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Goodbye.